morning, everyone. Hello, happy Friday, Friday the 13th. I'm Cheryl from Tinker's Cart Art, and I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to my page. Welcome to Craft Around the Clock. This is my segment for Craft Around the Clock this morning. And I know we're in January, but I'm thinking ahead to Valentine's Day. I've seen so many great crafters here doing some Valentine's Day and spring things. So I'm jumping on the bandwagon. Welcome. Good morning. Thank you guys for popping in. I am here. I'm going to paint a simple Valentine's gnome for you this morning. So easy. Even if you're not a painter, you can do it. So say hello when you come on. I love to know where you're watching from. It's kind of fun to see who's the closest and who's the furthest. I'm in Massachusetts. I'm in New England. We had a little snow yesterday. We've hardly had any, and today it's warm out there. So it's been crazy weather. It's been crazy weather everywhere. But yeah, let me know where you're from. And thanks for watching. I see you all popping on. That is fabulous. I'm going to answer your questions as you go. I've got my computer here. So please throw out any questions you have. If I don't address it while I'm here live, I will certainly go back. So it's all recorded, as you know. Do not worry about missing anything because you can go back and watch the replay. So again, good morning and welcome and thank you. And I'm so glad you're here. So I was painting up some Valentine's things yesterday. I'll show you all the Valentine's things I've been working on if you would like to see them. But this little gnome, pretty cute, simple, really like 3 colors, easy to paint and fun for Valentine's Day. So I'm going to paint that for you today on a barrel stave. This is a little tiny barrel stave. I just have a little stash of them around. I thought this was a little small, so if you want to see me really painting, you want to see it on something bigger. So we're going to paint it on a big barrel stave. And like I said, I've had a stash of these from years ago. They were big. Everyone was painting these, you know, back in the day. But I love them. I love the shape. I love to paint them this way with a landscape or seascape. But I thought with the gnome, let's do it this way. It was just, this is simply what it looks like. I used acrylic paint, painted the whole thing black. I'm just using my craft acrylic paints, just the little 2-ounce bottles of the brand that you like. I like the Deco Art Americana. You can get whatever store brand. There's some store brand in Craft Smart. I just love that apple green, so I use that a lot. And simple, like really just 3 colors, black, red, and white. I have a little bit of orange salmon colored there. I'm going to mix up something for his nose or her nose. And I'm going to just give this a little sand. I've painted it, like I said, with the acrylic paint. I want it to be a little smoother when I'm painting on wood, and I put a base on there. I want to smooth it out. When you put your acrylic paint on raw wood like this, you bring up the burr of the grain a little bit. So just simply a little sand with the direction of the wood before you paint it on. And look, I've got a nice smooth surface to paint on here now. And let's see if I can see who is popping in here, because I'd love to say hello and see where you're from. So thank you. And another, I'm going to show you some other cute things I painted for Valentine's, very similar. You can also paint. I'll get started on this, and then we'll jump into that. So good morning, Deborah and Carolyn. Thank you guys for all popping in. Yeah, gnomes, you either love them or hate them, right? So we have people on both camps, but I do still love gnomes, so I'm going to just paint this little guy on. It's super simple. Honestly, sometimes I just go freehand it, but if you'd like, a piece of chalk is great to have in your paint kit because you can sketch things on as you go, erase them easily if you don't like them. So easy. Gnomes are simple. I'm just going to put a big long beard on this guy, so that just gives me an idea where his little face will be. I love the long hats. I just kind of do a little curve. And like I said, this is something you could even freehand, but let's just sketch it on so we know where we're going. We'll have a little roadmap. And let's see, then body's super simple on this guy. I just made like he's wearing a little coat, say, or whatever. We'll just kind of bring that down this way. And you could just end him like this, or you could put some little feet on there. How simple is that, right? Super simple. Let me look. I want to make sure you can see him. I know this is a long board. I'm going to keep moving it so that you can see it. It is a little harder maybe to see, but I'm going to make sure you can see where I'm painting. I did it in just, like I said, 3 colors. You can just vary the red and the white and make shades of pink, and you can get all colors Great technique to paint a gnome if you want to change up the colors and paint them for any season. So just think of how I'm shading and base coating, and remember, you can certainly use any color you like. I'm painting on black. It's going to be a little dark and harder to cover. Acrylics are a little transparent anyway, so we always need to let it dry good, put a few coats. But a trick is to base coat it in white or add white to your paint. It helps the paint, the coverage a little bit. So, for instance, for the hat, I know I want it to be more pink, but to start, I'm going to just mix my red with a little white, and I want to make sure you can see that. You guys, let me know as we're going along if there's something you can't see, because I can scooch this over. Carolyn, good morning, and Luann, Sandy, Zena, hi, good to see you all. Gnomes all safe here? Yes, good. All righty. Oh, you're in Pelham. Is that Pelham, New Hampshire, Carolyn? Are you close by? Because I'm in Mass, and you would be my neighbor to the north if you were in New Hampshire. So I'm just going to paint the shape in of his hat, and like I said, I've added a little white to my red, so I've got a pink here. And do not worry about covering your chalk lines. You don't have to be a slave to that, because they're going to erase so easily. That is just a little guide. How many here this morning are painters? I love to paint. I've painted all my life. I love all sorts of crafts, but painting is my jam. And I love teaching painting as much as I love painting, especially to newbies. I want to show you that it's not intimidating or hard, and it can be simple or as complex as you like, but to start simply, super easy. You don't need a lot of equipment. You don't need expensive paints. Jump in, try some things, and that's just my little base coat for the hat. I'm going to just dry my brush off and go straight into my red. Because I'm going into a darker color, I'm not going to wash my brush off. I'm going to jump right into my red. It's going to be a little transparent too, so I think I will, again, add a little white just as the base coat. I'm going to darken it up, but I just want to get it to cover the easiest and best way, so I am just going to add a little white, go around where his beard is. Oh, Regina, you love to paint. Luann Noor, yes, it's such a fun adventure, and I have to say, so many of my students and people that paint with me are a little older. They maybe love to paint, but they gave it up for one reason or another, and now they're back to it. So I love that. I love seeing people embracing their creativity through painting and any kind of art and craft, really. It kind of keeps us sane, right? During the times that we just need a little outlet, it is a lifesaver. And it's enjoyable, and you come out with cool paintings. But what I try to stress is, it's not so much about what you come out with as much as the experience while you're painting. Isn't that what it's all about? I know a lot of people really stress out, and they're stressed when they're painting, and they don't like it, and they're comparing it, and that just takes away from the whole experience. You're supposed to do this to have fun. So if you relax, enjoy it, don't stress so much, you'll be surprised with how cool and great your paintings will come out. And it's about the experience. If it's a mistake, you've learned from it. So there's no mistakes really. You just keep going. Zena painted ceramics. Me too. Oh my goodness, miniature bridal replicas. Zena's in my group, my private group. Zena, post some of those pictures. I'd love to see what your little miniatures are like. I started painting ceramics too. My mother, growing up, had a ceramic studio, and we were, we painted all the things. So it was a lot of fun. And I do paint ceramics still. I have some YouTube videos out there of my techniques and things. So it's always fun to paint on different surfaces too. So I'm going to just base coat his beard in now, which is simply a dark gray. I build it up. You can see almost underneath the white strokes. Dark gray. Then I take a little bit lighter gray, make some hair strokes with the beard, and work my way up to white. I paint dark to light in a lot of things that I paint, but this is a good example. So a little bit of white, because I don't want straight black. I do want a dark gray. And I'm just going to mix that on my palette. And I am going to just paint that beard on. It's the base coat, so I'm really not worrying if I bring some of the pink into it. I will go around the nose, and the nose I'm going to paint white actually, maybe even 2 coats, just so that I can lighten that up a bit on that black background. I do like dark backgrounds, but you do have a little bit more base coating and whatnot to get your colors to show up. But I do love that dark look behind everything. Susie in Denmark, welcome. Nice to see you here. Thank you. Barbara, good morning. Like I said, if you have any questions, shout them out and I'll try to address them, but I do go back and I go through all of them afterwards. So I am just really not paying too much attention to my chalk line. I'm really jumping in there and just getting the beard base coated. And when I do the little strokes over it, then I can really get some direction and some little detailed hairs. But that gives me an idea where I'm going. What I like to do in the beginning is really get everything base coated. If I'm working on a canvas, I want to get all the white covered. I want to get everything base coated. Then I go back and I shade and highlight a little bit. That will give the image, the element form. It'll give it, it'll look more 3D. And then I add little details like the hair and the little hearts on here. But to start, let's just get the things that we need to do base coated. This little heart is going to be a lighter pink, so we'll just paint that in, knowing we'll have to do another coat. And the thing about putting multiple coats, please keep in mind that you need to really let it dry first before you put your second coat. I'm as impatient as the next person, and I can't wait. But if you put it on before this first coat's dry, you're really just taking off that first coat. So let it dry or hit it with a heat gun or a hair dryer. Another handy tool to have nearby when you're painting. Hi, Bonnie. Trisha. Oh, please do it and please share. I love to see all the pictures of people and their families and their paintings. I just love that. We all give each other ideas. And speaking of that, I do have a link in the description to I do have a private art community, a free art community on my website, and the link is there if you would like to join us. It's nice because I'll go on and do little tutorials and things, but the best part is the community, sharing photos, what we're working on, what works for us, what doesn't. So do join me over there if you wish to learn a little more about painting and just to be surrounded by other creatives who are there for you as well. Tammy, good morning from Georgia. And Fran, thank you. Kim, good morning. I love it when you pop in and say hello. Thank you so much. And let's go ahead and just base coat the little nose. I'm going to just mostly do white, but like I said, I got a salmony orange there. And I'm just going to, just so I know where it's going, I'm just going to put it in there. Paint's drying pretty quickly on here, which is fabulous. And we can get right to the detail. And there. So we've got our whole gnome base coated now. We sketched it with the chalk. We've just filled in the base colors. Now we'll do that quick second coat, and then we'll get into the fun part, all the details. Now the second coat, oh, we have to base coat his little shoes. The second coat doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to worry about getting it into every nook and cranny. I do it a little bit on the quicker side. And let me just put a little base coat on the shoes. Again, those are pink. And I am doing this whole pink theme for Valentine's Day, but you could do any color. I've done these guys all colors. You could vary the colors for season. For Halloween, you could do your blacks and your oranges. You can do your Christmas colors. You could make it snow and snow falling. It's really endless. I love to share designs that I create and then give you lots of ideas to make them your own by adding and taking away things that are on there. Keep your eyes open. And I'm sure all us creatives do that when we're always looking for the next cool thing we want to paint or get ideas from all sorts of places. So I do love to share photos and pictures of my designs, and you're free to use them however you like. I've connected the little heart here with just a little white line. And now let's just base coat a little bit. And then we're going to have fun with the little hearts and the beards and everything too. And let's see. Okay, I'm just going to go back with the colors. I'm going to go a middle shade here of pink, but then I'm going to deepen it with some red on one side, highlight it with some white on the other. Let's start up there on the hat. So I'm mixing as I go. I'm not mixing little piles of color first. I'm mixing as I go. It looks a little more natural that way, I think. And I'm just going to put on that second coat of pink. And I may just do it quick enough that I could just go in with those other colors to shade and highlight while this paint is wet, and I'll get a nice blend that way. So that is another reason not to spend too much time trying to make this second coat perfect. Just get some wet paint on there. I'm not worrying about it blending too perfectly either. I'm just getting those big areas in, covered like that. I'm going to dry that off my brush. I'm going to take just some straight red now. And I'm just going to run that down the left side of the gnome hat just to give it a shadow on that side. I'm going to shade a little darker on my coat. I'm going to make the coat a little darker. So down there when I shade, I'll probably use some red and black mixed, more of a maroon color. But for now, I am just going right down that left side with a strip of red. Now, you can see it's a little bit of a shadow, but I do want to blend it a little bit. Simply do that with a dry brush, just taking that brush and wiping it off on that cloth. And now I'm just going to place my brush halfway on the red, halfway on the pink that's underneath, and I am just smudging that line. If I start picking up too much of the red, I just dry it off as I go. It's basically a dry brush with some, a little bit of paint, because these two paint colors are still a little wet. So that is really as much as you need to do. If you wanted it darker, you could, but I don't want to go too dark until I get to the coat. I'm going to do the same thing on this side of the hat with white. I'm going to go right into the white, get a line of white down that right side. I have trouble with right and left, especially upside down. But I just go on the opposite side. And this is just going to make the hat appear rounder. It's just a little, instead of just base coating it pink and calling it a day, which you could, and when you put your little elements on in your designs, it will be cute. But why not go the extra step and just give it some form? And I'm just going to dry up the brush again, use that dry brush to blend these two colors together. Now, this is the wet and wet technique. And if the colors start to dry, it's a little harder to blend. I'm going to go right up the side anyway, get it blended as much as I can. It's really not bad, but I could take the pink right off my palette I was using just to re-wet an area where if I want to blend it a little more. And again, because we're putting stripes on this hat after, don't examine it too closely and worry about it. Look at, that's going to be enough to give it form. So there we are with the hat. Now we just need to add the stripes. I chose stripes on my little guy, but you could put polka dots or anything you want. It's kind of fun. And now while I'm up here, let's just do the same little technique on that heart. We are just going to second coat of the pink. I want to go a little lighter on the heart. I'll add a little more white on my brush. Just fill it in. Dry your brush off. I'm just going to dry it off on my paper towel over here. Take a little red on the left side. And I put a stroke on the left side there. Dry off the brush and just soften. I'm just softening where that red paint meets the pink. I'm going to do the same thing on the white side here now. Just a little white paint. I will tell you about the brushes I'm using. They're just synthetics, very inexpensive. You could use rounds and flats. I'm using a filbert here because I had it in my hand. I would probably use, you could use a round very easily to put these colors on. But I do like to blend with a flat or a filbert. So there I am. I've just softened that a little bit. And now we'll let that dry. I'm going to do the coat because it's behind the beard. And then I'll go to the beard. The little shoes I'll do on top of the coat as well. So the coat, I did want more red. We've got the base coat there. I'm just going to go into just my red paint alone and put that second coat with just red. It's a bigger area. Once we get it coated with red, the paint is probably starting to dry, and we're just going to re-wet the edges where we want a highlight and a shadow. And so I'll show you how to do that wet and wet technique even if the paint has dried. It's super simple, but just get your red paint on there. I don't worry about the little areas that I can see through. We're going to put a little design of hearts on that coat, so I am not worrying about it being perfect. If it's perfect looking, it looks like it was machine made, not handmade. So let's embrace the little imperfections that you get when you are hand crafting or hand painting something. I know people so many times when I'm painting and I try to have them look at it this way. They'll say, oh, my painting doesn't look like yours though. It's not right, it's wrong. There's no right or wrong. Anything goes. And I'm painting this exact little gnome that I painted last night, and it's not gonna look the same. And I don't want it to. So let's embrace our own creations and not worry about, it doesn't look like the teachers, it doesn't look like my friends, it's not supposed to. You want your own look, right? Okay, so the red's on there. It is still a little wet, so I'm going to try to go in with my shading and highlighting, but if I need to re-wet to make it blend, all I would simply do is just put a little bit of wet paint next to where I'm going in. So I'm going to go on this side with a darker shade now. And I'm simply going to make a maroon. I've bought all sorts of shades of maroon in all sorts of brands of paint. I can never get the maroon deep enough that I like, so I only make it now. I just take a tiny bit of black into my red, and it makes a beautiful, deep, rich maroon, and you don't have to buy another paint. So it's really nice to mix. You can mix all of your colors from the primaries, so it does not have to be a big expense to get started painting. Myself, like everyone else, loves to go in and buy all the colors because they're so cool, and that's fine. But if you want to start and don't want to, spend a lot on paint, as I paint, I do tell people how to mix their colors from their primaries as well. So I want a shadow on that left side. I want a shadow under the beard, so I'm going to go around the beard. I want it a little darker. The beard is on top. It's going to cast a shadow underneath. Same with behind the shoes if you want. Do a little shadow there. So you can see how I just lay on the color in a line. Then I want to dry brush it. I want to blend it. So, not really dry brush it, but blend it with a brush that's not full of paint. I take most of it off. And then I'm just softening. My brush is hitting half on the dark, half on the red, and I'm just softly blending. If I find I'm picking up a lot of that dark, I'll wipe it off as I go. And you want to do it fairly quickly so you can get it to blend. But I do the best I can. This is real sticky. This is drying. But all I need to do is dip into a little of my red if I need to really move that and soften it. So you want to do it, fairly quickly. But if it dries, it's no big deal. You can just go in with your red on your brush and see how that is softening it. If it gets too dark or you've done too wide of a line for the shadow, again, just soften it with the red or whatever base color you're using. And that's all you need to do. I am going to rinse my brush off now because I want to highlight with white. I want to rinse my brush, but I want to make sure I dry it really, really well so that I do not drag water into that. I want it to be nice and heavy-bodied with the paint. I don't really want to thin it. Good morning, Erica. Eric, sorry, I was putting Samantha and Eric together. Good morning, Samantha. Good morning, Eric. My brain goes faster than my mouth. And Carrie, good morning. And Lou Ann, thank you. I do try to go step by step as if people are all beginners because we can all use little refreshers, and I want to show how easy it can be to paint simple things. Even more intricate things could be made simple, just simple step by step by step. That's my motto, step by step by step. Okay, I am taking some white on my brush and some pink. I don't want to go stark white, but let's just see how this works. I'm going to just go down this right side with my light. I'm going to dry my brush off, and I'm going to just start softening that. Yeah, I've taught complete beginners that have claim they have no artistic talent, because we all have it if we just take the time to learn and practice. If you love it, you can do it. And I'm taking red on my brush now because it is drying a little bit, and I just want to soften it. And there. Now, doesn't the coat have more form to it? It looks rounded a little more now. Do the little shoes while we're here. They're super simple. They're really just painted pink. I really didn't even shade them too much. I did just put a little white comma on them to make it look like it's a little shine, but I really didn't shade them. You could. This guy is a little bigger, so I could shade if I wanted, but I think I'm just going to paint them in. And all I did for detail on that with my little tiny brush, not tiny, but a little round brush, I put a little sole in white. I just take and just do a little line of white on the bottom for a little sole on his little shoe. Simple as that. And then those little commas, just up in the upper right, 2 little commas, there. So the shoes are really done. can't wait to show you the beard. That's really fun to do too. And I'll watch our time because we were 9:15, which means we go to 10. We have plenty of time still. And isn't it amazing, in 15 minutes you can paint a little something something? So that is a cool part too. All right, let's do detail on the hat, beard. I'll do the nose. Look at how easy the chalk lines erase. So don't, like I said, be a slave to copying them. Of course, I can never wait till the end. I always want to get rid of those little lines. But there you are. Let me put a quick little coat over his nose while we're here. And then we'll just do some simple stripes on the hat. Actually, you could mix the nose color just with the 3 colors we started with too. It really, I just threw that little salmon out, and I do a little highlighter on his nose too. Okay, for detail work, like these stripes, use a round little detail brush maybe. I like my liner brush. See how it has a longer tip? It holds more paint and you can get a longer and more strokes with that. The key is to thin the paint down. So I'm adding a little water to my white. I'm going to pull it aside. Even with 3 colors, I make a big mess on my palette. But detail work, I'm always thinning my paint down. The acrylic paint dries pretty quick. And if you start to do a nice fine line and your paint is thick, it's just going to drag and skip and it's going to not make a nice flowy line. Keep it as thin as you can. Another tip too is a good thing. If you are a little unsure and you don't want to do these tiny details with the brush, paint markers are your friend. I love these Posca markers. There's different brands paint markers. I have not had much luck with the Craft Smart or the craft store ones, although I think the craft stores sometimes carry the Posca now. And what I love about this, it's paint. So it's paint in the barrel. It's not like a Sharpie, it's not flat. It's actual paint, so it looks really like you've painted it. Comes in a variety of nibs. That's a real fine one. You can get them heavier. I just discovered this one, which is actually a brush. So you could very well just use the paint marker. Look at that. Look at how that works. That looks just like I painted it. Now, to keep in mind, paint markers, make sure your paint is super dry. The minute your marker touches paint, if it's a slight bit damp, it will seize up and then you lose it. So make sure it's good and dry. So actually, I'm going to do it with this. It's easier with the marker. I showed you about the liner brush. You could do it with that. If you load it with that nice thin white paint, you can do it and get like maybe 3 or 4 strokes with it, and it looks the same, right? So I might just use the marker for fun. I'm just doing a little wiggly stripe. Now, why am I doing a wiggly stripe? I could do straight ones, super easy, that would be fine. But if I do a wiggly one, no one's expecting the lines to be straight. So I don't have to even worry about spacing them evenly and making them just so. And I just go right up the hat. And actually, I know I painted my little white line there that connects the little heart, but this could be done with this little marker as well. So I was pretty surprised. These little brush markers by Posca, I don't know if they're new or not, but I just discovered them. Pretty cool. They come in all colors, and it's fun to have maybe a black and a white one at least, signing your name, doing details. Okay, I'm going to do the beard, then I'm going to show you the hearts, little 1-stroke hearts on the coat. And the beard is really fun. And so what I do with the beard is you could do a liner brush or the round brush, whatever you're more comfortable with. Thinning the paint down. Again, I start with a gray still. I don't want to go straight to white. I want to do a little bit of a gray. So I'll take a little black, mix it up with my white. I want to make it a good bit lighter than this shade. But I want to have dark, then a medium shade, and then the bright white on top. Start at the bottom. If you're doing fur or hair, gnomes, whatever, start at the bottom with your little strokes and build up. That way the hair is falling in the right direction, and you're just going to work in layers working up. And it's pretty easy. I curve it. You can curve them if you want. You could go one way and then another, give it some texture, just little curvy strokes, and I work my way right up to the top. And you can see these lines on top of the gray. Even though they're gray, they're a little lighter. If I'm going along and finding that they are not showing up, just add more white and you have a little more contrast there. And I simply just go right up, curving. I love making these little curvy strokes and make them go out right over the edge of the beard onto the coat. You can make them as scraggly looking or neat of a beard as you would like. Keeping the strokes fairly thin and my paint watered down. Light, light touch. When you're doing detail work, people think, oh, it's so hard, it gets so thick. If it's not really, as the paint is thin, it's just a light touch. Just try to barely touch your hand to the surface and you can get some thinner strokes that way. And you can do as many coats as you'd like. You could just go slightly brighter next time. You could go a lot brighter. You could just do one more coat. I put on another coat of white. I let this dry, but because there's so much water in the brush, it dries super fast. And then I just go lighter and lighter till I like the way it looks. I think the last coat I'm going to go with the liner brush so I get a little thinner coat. You could use that little brush marker for this. And can you understand that why I layer it going up? If we started up here and went down, our strokes wouldn't have these nice little fine ends. We would be cutting them off with the strokes we put on top. So that's just the first layer there. Just some little curvy little hair strokes. Now I'm going to go to my liner brush. I'm going to go to straight white this time, if I can find some straight, clean white on my palette, because it's a mess. Keeping the paint thin. You'll get to know how much water to add. If you put your stroke on and it's so watery you can see through it or it drips, well, add more pigment to it. And you will just get the feel for it after a while. When you do all these little strokes, you're going to get an idea of how thin you want it. So can you see now how those next strokes are a little finer but brighter? And it's really nice to have that underpainting of the grays, because that makes these whites show up all the more. If we went in and said, oh, all the gnome's beard's white, paint the gnome's beard white, there's going to be no texture. So I start dark on things I want texture on, like that, and slowly build my way up so that those last coat of the really brights really show up. So I'm going to do just what we did, only thinner and brighter. And I'm just going to go all the way up till we get to the top. And then we can look at it and we can decide if we want to add anything else. And do remember, even on a little item like this, stand back sometimes and look. You're too close here. You're too critical and not liking every little, look at that. Oh, I don't like that stroke. It's not right. Do you think someone standing back 4 feet that's going to be looking at this will even notice? So be kind to yourselves. Do not stress. Have fun. It will show in your painting if you had fun painting it. And if you know, bright colors and fun strokes, and just enjoy the process. What's the worst that can happen painting your gnome, right? All the way up. We'll get some little ones. I like to have them sticking out of the hat. However you want to paint your beard. They're all going to be different, which is fabulous. The same technique I use. I wish I had my Highland cow here, but I don't know if you can see my pup here that I painted. Let's see. Same idea. Like, I start at the bottom, I do darker strokes, and I work my way up, and in the top, the little few really highlighted ones really pop. So use this technique for painting animals and fur too. So now I look at it, and if I think it needs to be, like this little guy, I really went much whiter. I like the way this looks. I'm going to leave it. That's what I mean. You can't copy something and have it exact. So however you want, if it looks good like that, leave it. I like the way that looks a little more gray than white. Oh, Santa beards. This is a great technique for Santa beards. Okay, little one-stroke hearts are super easy. If you have a little brush, I like to have a variety of brushes. I like to always have a liner brush, of course. How can you see that? I only use one really other little, one little other detail brush. Put it where you can kind of see it. And Then some flats. So I love my flats because you can get a nice wide stroke. You can put it on the chisel edge and get a thin line. I love the flats. And I like to have some different sizes because if I'm doing something little, say that's a little window on a building, instead of trying to paint it with the detail brush and fill it in, I just simply take one little brush, one little stroke. I'm going to use this for the hearts. Same thing. I'm going to just take I'm going to do pink on this, but let me show you with the red on the palette here. So I'm going to just do the little heart in 2 little strokes. Let's see if I can do it backwards and upside down. This is a challenge, but it's going to be simply 1 stroke, making a little heart. It's just 2 strokes, and I'm making hearts. Upside down, backwards hearts, but hearts. I'm going to do the same thing on the little coat. I'm going to do them light pink to show up because that's dark. So I'm going to just make up my light pink again. I want the paint to be fairly fresh so that it's liquid enough that it goes into those little strokes easily. If it was old paint that was out, it would be hard to move. So you would thin it down with a little water or get some fresh paint out. And I'm simply going to space them here and there. This brush is a little scraggly. Let me try this as a little bit better tip. I've done these with the round brush if I want really small ones. Practice. This is fun stuff to practice. It's almost like Zen-like if you sit and just practice your brush strokes. Sometimes in my group, we just practice. We get together by Zoom, we practice brush strokes. It's very relaxing. I did a big gnome like this on a big, just a piece of wood I had cut at Home Depot. And in the background, I put the hearts like this. And I probably put polka dots or something on the coat. An easy, super, super simple, easy way to do polka dots I will show you. So there is just hearts on his little coat. He has no arms. He's just kind of a funky little whimsical gnome. In order to make him stand on something, I really just took a flat brush. This is a little bit different technique that you can also use to shade and highlight. I use 2 techniques. I use wet and wet, where I have a wet paint, put the darker light on, blend it like you saw me on this. Or if the paint is dry, sometimes I'll do a wash. So I'm going to show you a technique of a wash for a couple places here. So for instance, I might want to deepen up the shadow under the hat and around the nose. A clean brush, just water. I pat it off because I don't want it dripping. I'm going to take a little tiny bit of black on my brush and just pat it out a little bit so you can see how I'm kind of blending it. And I'm just going to run that dark shadow up under the hat, again upside down and backwards and around and here. Can you see how that really deepened up the shadow? That's more of a wash technique. So you could use that when you want to put in a dark and a light. I could have done that on the hat. I like the way it looks with the wet and wet, and it worked because I was base coating. But if you need to go back, I could have gone back here and added the shadow in if I needed to there. I'm going to use the same technique just to wash in a little tiny bit of ground for him to stand on. So I'm washing my brush off because I had black. And again, I tap off the water a little bit. I don't want it to be soaking. Go into the color. I want white for this. I don't want to go right onto my surface now because it'll be too heavy, so I just take and I just soften that. And this is a little bit of a practice stroke. It's sort of into, like when I do my 1-stroke floral painting, these are the sort of strokes we can use. But practice with them. It's just so that I can get a little bit of a white line for him to stand on. But see how it's going from bright white and tapering off to soft? It's not a harsh line. You could paint a harsh line on there and then with your brush soften it. But if you want to save time, you could just simply with 1 stroke do it. It's probably, I don't know if that's straight, but because half the brush is just water and on the edge I have a little bit of pigment and I just go under like this, just kind of a wash. It just gives them something to stand on. I might just actually bring it down where this is a much bigger piece than my tiny little barrel stave. I might just kind of bring that down to make some ground. And that is our gnome. Super easy. And if you wanted to do, say you wanted to do polka dots instead of stripes or hearts, you can. Let's put polka dots on this heart. We'll really make all kinds of details. Super easy. Just use the back end of your brush into your paint and you can make polka dots using whatever size brush handle. Will make different size dots. It's good for little eyes. It's good for any little circly things you need to do. So what do you guys think? Here's our gnome. A little different than our little gnome, but basically the same techniques. But using the same techniques, you still come out with different things, right? So let's see what people have to say. We have 5 minutes. Jessica, good morning. Oh, thank you. I think gnomes are adorable. I've painted an awful lot, but I like to paint them for seasons and things. Let me show you what else I painted because we have a few minutes. And again, I'll go through your comments afterwards to see if I missed. I'm sure I missed some things, but I'm going to go through those. So even after this is done or you're watching in the replay, let me know you're watching the replay and ask any questions. I keep an eye on this sort of thing. So I feel like I've been, but so I don't know if you saw on my page, and I think on Craft Round the Clock I might have shared it, is I got this little candle, Christmas candle, at Joann's for 80% off, but I used it to paint a little snowman Valentine. So I love gnomes and snowmen. So easy. It's a frosted finish, so you don't even need to use the glass paints really, which I do when I'm painting wine glasses and things, and if you'd like on my page and in my groups, you'll see those. It's frosted. The paint took really nicely, and I just used these craft paints, and it works fine. I painted another little snowman, and let me tell you what this is on. So that's another little Valentine snowman I painted last night. I didn't know whether to paint the snowman today or the gnome, but so what these were, I wish I kept the package, but at Christmas time, Michael's Target, the dollar spot section of Target, had these little 3-packs. So it's wood. It comes with the little hanger on the back. These are 3 separate. They're not all one. They're 3 separate. So 3 of these little boards came in, and they had adorable sayings on them and things, but I just wanted the board. So they're all stained with the little frame, with the little hanger on the back. I just painted the inset here. And then look at how cute they'd be for gnomes and little snowmen. So keep your eyes open for these cool little things that you find to paint on. Hey, Jeannie, I love that. I've been painting all my life, but I'll tell you, most of the ladies in my group are retired, and they discovered they want to start painting, and I'm here to show you. It's so easy. That's what this package looked like for the little ones, by the way. I'll put that aside. And I equate it to, like, I can't really cook, right? So I could go into the kitchen and get all frustrated and mad that I can't do it and it's wrong and the lasagna didn't come out right. Well, how would I know how to do it? I can't just go in the kitchen and magically do it. I might have the tools, I might have the cooking utensils, you might have the brushes, but if you sit down, you need a little instruction. So I need a video, a tutorial, a cookbook, instructions, step-by-step instructions, whether you're cooking or changing the oil in your car or painting. So that's where I start, and I just show people baby steps to practice and gain confidence and techniques and whatnot. So that's my jam. Oh, just because I do have an art membership, and I just want to show you what I'm painting with them. This is something we did last Valentine's Day, and I do have this class on my website, but I wanted to do Valentine's things that weren't overly Valentine's-y. So this could take out the writing in the middle, and you could just have that as a cute little wreath. This is a super simple technique. Fun background, easy little one-stroke flowers. For my group, in a week we're doing this. I wanted it, again, Valentine's-y, right? But not all hearts and flowers. That was, I thought, cute. It could be done as a close-up without the whole bodies. So that would be fun for Valentine's as well. So anyways, in the description, you can see like I said, I have a group over on my website, and what's nice about it, it's private. You don't have ads and spam and all this stuff coming along. It's just the group, and you can meet the other painters, and it's so nice because everybody's so supportive and friendly and fun. So the link is there. I'd love it if you joined me. And I love these stories. Thank you guys for telling me that you're coming at a certain age and starting to paint. I just love it, and I'm so excited when I have new people at my paint nights. That come in and they've never painted and they're all nervous and they're fussing and they can't do it, and then they leave, and when I see them next time, oh, I went and I bought paintbrushes and I got paints, and that's thrilling for me because I know how much I enjoy it, how much it gets me through some tougher times, and I love to give it as gifts, and I love to share painting. And I've talked enough, you guys. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Dizzy Designer is next, I believe. And Craft Around the Clock is so fun. I am doing crafts I never thought I would. I love the variety and the diversity of all of the projects. So please, if you're my Tinker's Cart peep, check out Craft Around the Clock. Follow them and paint and crafting every single day, early morning till late at night. I love it that you've watched. Have a great Friday the 13th. Bye-bye.